Shikues në nderuar, ju përshëndes, jemi në studion e televizionit shqiptar të Amerikës. Studio është në rikëzupson, akoma nuk është përfunduar, jemi duke punuar, por megjithatë aktivitetet tona nuk I kemi ndërprerë. Sot kemi një mysafir shumë të veçantë, është shefi I policisë të qytetit Shelby. Unë e falenderoj dhe në emrin tuaj, I cili ndodhet sot për një intervistë, është do thosha një intervistë profesionale duke ju sjellë juve këshilla, sugjerime në nivelin e krimit në këtë qytet, por dhe në përgjithësi, edhe si duhet të jemi ne familjarët për të mbajtur familjen tonë të fortë, që të mos infektohen nga fenomenet e vështira, fenomenet e përditshme negative që janë në shoqërinë tonë këtu në Amerikë. Unë e falenderoj dhe në emrin tuaj që ndodhet këtu, zoti Floçi do të bëjë bisedën, I do ta ndiqim më pas, por ndje për detyrë, jemi të privilegjuar që kemi këtë shefin sot këtu, I cili do të flasim për juve shikues të nderuar, dhe më duhet ta respektoj si mysafirit që ka ardhur. Thank you so much, Chief, you've been here. I talk in my community. We are proud you are today here in my studio. My journalist, Albanian, Mr. Floçi, he asked you, and we talk. Thank you so much, and the door is open anytime coming back again.
I appreciate that. I'm honored to be here, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Të dashur teleshikues të televizionit të shqiptarëve të Amerikës, është kënaqësi që sot në studion tonë, e cila është në rikonstruksion e sipër, ne fillojmë një intervistë interesante me shefat e policisë të rajonit ku shqiptarët banojnë. E fillojmë dhe hapim këtë emision me intervistën me shefin e policisë së rajonit të Shelby Township, zotërin Bob Shalai. Është kënaqësi ta kemi atë sot në studio. Chief Shelide, you are welcome to the Albanian community, but you are welcome always between Albanians. We have learned that you have been for a long time friend on some of our friends that told us for the good job that you do at the Shelby Township. But for our audience, can you explain to our audience who is Chief Bob Shalai?
Well, first of all, Raphael, thank you for having me on the program. I'm honored. I'm a 36-year law enforcement veteran. I started with the Detroit Police Department 1 week after my 19th birthday. I worked there for 7 years. I made over 1,000 arrests, 550 self-initiated felony arrests when I was there. Very proud of that. I moved over to the Southfield Police Department and had better pay, better benefits in 1994. I ended up staying in Southfield for 21 years. I rose through the ranks. Something I'm very proud of when I worked there. I was a detective and I investigated sex crimes of children, and I did that for 10 years. It was very stressful for me, as you can imagine, and I saw some horrific things what people do to children. It was terrible, but I made sure I put these people in prison, and I did. And I ended up making deputy chief in Southfield, and then I got hired by Shelby Township Police Department in 2015 in January as a chief of police.
So you came from the ranks and file.
Yes.
From the base down to the position that you have today as a chief of police.
Correct.
But who is Bob out of uniform?
Well, Bob is a married father. I have 3 children. They're 14, 13, and 12. They all go to private Catholic school. Both of the boys play hockey. My daughter is a figure skater and a cheerleader. My wife is Chaldean. She's ethnic, so they're Iraqi Christians. I'm a Lebanese Christian myself, and I'm a family man. Ethnic also. We're big into our family and to our culture. And all the Lebanese women were dried up. They're gone. They married off, so I had to marry a Chaldean woman.
Okay, but I like Lebanese cuisine, so
I love it.
Okay. All our society recently had passed over many challenges, especially these last 3 or 4 years. How have the pandemic and other challenges affected the level of crime in general or in Shelby Township?
Well, in Shelby Township, it's creeped up. a little bit. Nothing like what's going on nationwide in the big cities. I did a study recently to look at where we were, and I wasn't pleased with the numbers. The numbers are creeping up from what they were a couple of years ago, and we're in a very safe community. 80,000 people, 36 square miles. It's about 30 miles north of Detroit, and I expected our numbers to be flat compared to 2019, and they weren't. So the good news is we don't have violent crime in Shelby Township. There's really no.
So when you mean violent crime, just killing,
the robberies, the rapes and murders, we don't have that. Thank God. But there's a theft. There's a lot of theft and assaults and stuff, and that stuff has been creeping up. And so we're definitely seeing a creep up.
Does the pandemic affect the people's lives? So the way they think about or being at home without work, they are more tempted to be involved in the crime?
I don't know if they're more involved being crime, but I think a lot of people were depressed. I know that alcohol use went through the roof. Same with drug use. Alcohol purchases were the highest in 2020 than they were ever. I've talked to some business owners that own party stores in town, and they said that they were doing 2 and 3 times volume what they had done pre-pandemic. So I think a lot of people were drinking and depressed and everything. And as far as my police department goes, I don't think it really affected us that much, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we see other cities or we see news in TV, New York, Chicago. We see crime on the roads, in the subway, and so on.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the difference, okay? I won't tolerate that at all. Zero tolerance when it comes to street crime and that kind of stuff. And everybody that works for me knows that. When we get those type of little crimes and people do stuff in Shelby Township, we're on it immediately. And my entire staff knows that. We will not tolerate that kind of stuff. Period. And we don't. Our residents don't want it. My board of trustees doesn't want it, and I won't allow it as long as I'm chief of police.
So how is the police troops, so all your officers accepting these rules? How they appreciate or evaluate the way how you're doing?
I would think they appreciate it. We all came into this business for a reason, to help people and protect people. Our number one goal is to safeguard lives and protect property and everything. And I think they all know where I stand, that I'm very firm on things and no nonsense. And we're not going to tolerate crime. And our guys are going to go out and work and catch people. And I think the message is very well received. There's nobody coming to me complaining, I don't want to do this or anything. If they do, we tell them there's a door.
Mm-hmm. Very good. What are the main types of crime in Shelby Township? What kind of crimes do you talked a little bit, but can you elaborate more?
Yeah, drug drivers. We have plenty of drunk drivers riding through that we have to arrest. Assaults, family disturbances where people assault each other in the home. We're making arrests probably every day for somebody assaulting somebody, called domestic violence. Retail fraud, where they go into the Myers and the Walmart and they steal out of there. So those are basically the type of crimes we have, just like nuisance crimes.
But I've seen or heard recently that the domestic crime is increasing everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
How you handle the domestic crime? And domestic crime, in some cases, the crime that create most casualties, even for the police force.
Correct. Well, first of all, we have to have a supervisor at every domestic scene. So police officers and a supervisor goes to the scene. We try to hear both sides, make sure everybody's safe. And then if somebody's assaulted, then we would take them to jail. So it's something that all officers know, that there is a huge risk when you walk into somebody else's house. Throughout the last few years, these guys will beat up their wives or kill their wives, and they'll get their rifles and go wait for the police to come out, and they'll shoot them. So it's happened all around the country where they get ambushed. So we just have to be careful. Our officers wear their bulletproof vests. And when they approach the house, they have certain tactics they have to follow when they walk up to a house and everything. Don't walk up in pairs. You walk up separate. Make sure you keep your eye on everything when you're walking up to the house. And another thing, you check the past history of the house through our dispatcher. Will tell them, hey, we've been out here 3 times, before, or, the guy has guns in the house, whatever. So we get as much information as possible before we approach the house.
How is crime affecting younger ages? So teenagers.
Well,
Is affecting more this age, the crime in general? Or?
Well, I think in general, what you see going on around the country is crime. They're running wild. People are doing whatever they want to do. The younger people are. But the good news in Shelby Township, we've kind of kept that insulated. They know that we won't play, and if they misbehave and break the law, they'll be arrested, period.
Okay, now let's talk about the Albanian community. You have a good relation with the Albanians in Shelby. There are a huge percentage of the Albanians living there. So what kind of crimes have you seen with the Albanians in Shelby?
They have the card shops, the private card shops where they go in there and they play poker and stuff. And there's been, allegations and stuff. And then one time we had somebody shoot a gun into the card shop. And one of my Albanian detectives actually investigated that matter, did a really good job with it. There was a dispute over money a few years ago. And one of the guys, they pulled up their car to car and he shot the other guy right in the car. I think they're related too. So I think they're not out committing street crimes. The Albanians are. It's more with people they know, if that makes any sense.
Between their community.
Correct.
People. Okay.
Correct.
Now I have a very good question for you. How is the community engagement looks like in Shelby?
We have a great Albanian community in Shelby Township, okay? They own a bunch of restaurants. They own stores around. I go into Tim Hortons and I see a bunch of businessmen and their Albanian businessmen I recognize right away that are getting ready to go out for work in the morning. We have a big population. I'm proud of our Albanian community. We end up hiring 2 Albanian police officers that I'm very proud of. They do a great job for me. And maybe we can talk about that later because I want to get more Albanians, Raphael, just so you know.
You can talk how the Albanians can join the force. But yes. I want the names of these 2 guys.
Okay.
Why they are special for your department.
Yeah, the first one we hired was Amir Villa. He was a veteran officer. He came from Royal Oak. And their chief called me, Corey O'Donoghue called me and said, hey, are you trying to grab my guy and take my guy away from me? And I said, no, I don't even know who he is. He said, listen, we don't think he should leave. He's a great guy. We love him. He's one of our best officers we have. And I didn't even know who he was. I thought he was like a veteran guy that was retiring and coming over. And then I interviewed him and I liked him right away. And I thought it was too good to be true when I was talking to him. So I said, wait a second, this is too good to be true. I said, have you been in trouble over there at Royal Oak? So he told me the story where he was chasing some bad guys in the middle of the night and they got a big chase and everything. I don't know what happened. I think I don't know if he went too fast in his car or whatever and they whacked him, they disciplined him or whatever. But I start laughing. I said, you're never going to get in trouble working for me if you're out doing your job.
Okay, but yeah, so he's eager to fight crime, even
absolutely
with sacrifices.
When we had the interview, I knew right away this guy's going to be a star. So he gets hired. He goes on the road right away. Everybody's recognizing how intelligent he is, what a hard worker. And he's got a presence about him. He's tall, he's lean, he's muscular, he's very intelligent. And when he went on the road, he did a great job. Everybody recognized him, and he chose him to be a detective. And he's put him in special investigations. And he's done things back there that I was a detective for 10 years. Like, wow, look at the work he's doing. I would have never thought of that. And his work.
He has a master's.
Yes, so of course.
You want to be really involved in the
correct.
In this job.
He has his master's degree in intelligence analysis from University of Detroit. I'm well aware. Him and I both had the same professor, Professor Barnes. We both respect him greatly. And so when he got back into our special investigations unit, he's done stuff back there that I'm so proud of him. Like literally when I see him, I want to hug him every time I see him.
So let's talk about another guy, Shelide.
Yeah, Nick Shelide. So he's another big man. He's 6'3", 6'4". He's got a presence about him. And when he first came to the department, he was highly recommended by one of my sergeants who knew him, Troy Tichnell. And he said, you got to hire this guy. He's a great young man and everything. So we hired him, and he was like a wild zebra, like out of control. Just so you know. And I was like, I didn't know if he was going to make it. Okay, I got to be honest with you. I didn't know if he was going to make it. He was wild, like a stallion, I should say. And I don't know what happened, but something clicked, maybe maturity. And he is a machine, is all I can tell you. He's probably my hardest working guy I have. He's out on the road every day, making arrests. He takes no nonsense whatsoever. He has my mentality out in a 6'4" man's body, if that makes any sense.
Okay. It makes sense.
Yes. I'm 5'10".
I don't know him, but now I have the idea.
Yeah, he's out and he takes nothing off of anybody. So he was looking for a guy that was wanted on a felony warrant. He did something bad. And this was back during the pandemic. So he knew the guy lived in this condo complex, and he saw 3 or 4 men right by the guy's car. So he pulled up, got out of the car. Well, they all had masks on. So he couldn't figure out which one was his. And he was by himself. He was waiting for his backup to get there. And I think he turned away for 1 second to get an ID from somebody, and the actual guy took off running. Okay. And he got away from him. Now, I knew how this was going to end up, okay? I'm chuckling. I remember I'm a 35-year veteran because I know Nick is not going to stop until he catches this guy, right? So I tried to mess with him a little bit. We have another really hardworking guy. He's not Albanian, Paul Sorbo. He's a sergeant. He's been there a long time. So I grabbed him. I said, Nick Sinistai is going to be obsessed with catching this guy after he ran from him and got away. I said, you go catch him before Nick does, just so you can rub it in, okay? So he goes, you got it, Chief. So Paul Sorbo was looking for this guy. He couldn't find him. Nick found him about 2 weeks later, and it did not end well for the guy, is all I can tell you.
So as I see from your words, you are very happy with the Albanians that are part of your department. Are you open for new opening from Albanian community to be part of the police force?
I have a Chaldean police officer also, okay, who's ethnic, very ethnic. So I have the 3 ethnic. They're 3 of the hardest workers we have, okay? They care. They come to work every day. They're leaders. I want more ethnic people. And in my community, we have a huge Albanian and Chaldean population. So absolutely, I want more Albanian officers. I want more Chaldean officers. And not to fill a quota. I'm not Mr. Diversity. They're trying to jam diversity down everybody's throat. I don't care about diversity. I want to hire the best people. And from what I see right now, my 2 Albanians and my Chaldean officer are right up at the top of my list.
So is this good relation with various communities helping your police resolving the crime?
Traditionally, the ethnic communities, I don't care if you're going back to the Italians and the Greeks, whoever.
The same
Yeah,
between them.
Yep, they're the same. They're very closed. They keep things to themselves. They don't come outside of they stay within the community no matter what it is. And they keep their mouth shut, okay? Now that we do have Albanian and Chaldean police officers, when things happen, we get information. Mm-hmm. Period.
There is a special friend of yours and ours,
yes,
a good Albanian, our friend Rocky, or Rocky Unta.
Well, I call him Uncle Rocco, but he's like a father to me, just so you know. I don't have my own father. He took off when I was a baby, so I grew up without a father. And, my whole life I've kind of looked for a father figure, and I found one. And I love Rocco like he's my own blood. I hug him and kiss him when I see him. And we have a great relationship with his family, with his son Dino, both his daughters, Kathy and Lisa, and Mrs. J, I call her. My family goes over to their house. We celebrate together. We dine together and laugh and talk and tell stories and just have a great, great relationship with them. You're not going to find a kinder, nicer man than Rocco.
Yeah, I met it at the church. He mentioned that he put a commercial at your department for his business, so on.
Yes.
And I told him I will have an interview with your friend, Bob.
Yeah, Rocco and his family are family to me, period. And his son, his family, I love them.
Are your officers trained promptly for various situations? How is the police troop in Shelby trained to do the job?
I'll put up my department against any police department in the country of similar size with our training that we do. Our training is fantastic. We train quarterly, every quarter. We have an 8-hour training day. We have probably our best people that developed the program, the protocol for the training. Recently, we just did single man entry training into an active assailant situation. So you saw what happened with Uvalde down that horrific situation. You had 14, 15 police officers hanging around while this guy was in there.
And waiting.
Yeah. Now, I don't like the Monday morning quarterback any situation. I was sick for days. All the officers I work with were coming to me. We were depressed. I don't know how this happened, but I can tell you right now, this will never, ever happen under my leadership with my officers. I can tell you. So not only does every police officer have an AR-15, okay, we train them to go in alone. not to wait for backup. If somebody's in there, okay, and they're going to hurting people and shooting people or killing people, have a gun, we're going in immediately by ourselves. So not only have we trained them to go in by themselves, we've also put a written policy in to match the policy that says you will follow your training. If you know there's an active assailant situation, you're going to go in there and eliminate the threat. So we just completed that training. Now, if there's two guys together, absolutely, they'll go in together. But if our guys riding around in one-man cars. So
I remember one situation of a guy whose daughter was killed inside. He was a policeman, and they don't allow him to save his own daughter in Uvalde.
Well, let me ask you a question, Raphael. Can anybody stop you from going in and save your... Exactly.
No.
Okay, and nobody would stop me, period. So, it's a decision. We came on this job. We knew the risks. When I took my oath, okay, here's the bottom line. I could be in my flip-flops and my underwear, and I'm going if there's a situation, period. And that's the mentality we have to have. And all police officers have. But we can't just expect them to do it. Like, I have a different situation when I grew up. I'm a 35-year veteran. I've seen it all. I've made 1,000 arrests. I have young kids that work for me, okay? Young kids that probably never been in a fight in their life. So we can't assume they're going to go in. We have to train them and teach them to go in.
Do you have special forces like SWAT that goes in this situation?
So I took over as chief in 2015, and we had nothing like that. We had no special team. When the guys would go on a raid, they go around, walk around and asking, hey, can you come with us? And they never trained together. It was a risky situation, and I feared something bad was going to happen. So we started our tactical response unit in 2016, 1 year after I got there. Everybody's well trained. They have all the special gear. They train every month. We actually have a former Navy SEAL that trains them every month. They work with him. And these guys are great guys, okay? They're the guys we call when we need the police, if that makes any sense. Yes. And I think there's like 14 or 15 of them on the team. They have to try out for the team. Nick Shelide is on the team, one of our Albanian officers. And I've been pressing Amir to get on a team. And I think Amir's busy with his family, if that makes any sense, which I respect greatly. It's a goal to raid one door a month. They hit doors for the state police, for the DEA, and for ourselves too. And the bottom line is, God forbid, if we ever have a serious tragedy or whatever, they're ready to go and respond.
So how we can enforce the law in the schools, how we can prevent what happened in Wixom here.
Yeah.
So if a kid takes a gun and shoots other kids, like in Wixom. So what we can do?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
When is the last time a kid got killed in an Israeli school? You know?
I don't know.
Yeah, 30 years. Okay. You know why? Because they said it ain't going to happen again. And would you agree that they're probably the biggest target on earth, the Israeli school children, to be a target where they would love to kill, the terrorists would love to kill them, and you can't do it. So they've hardened their facilities, and they have people, the teachers, everybody in there is armed and they're well trained, and they won't allow it. People know if you go in there to try to hurt somebody, you're going to die, period. Now, I don't know if we need something that extreme, but like, for instance, the government just hired 87,000 new IRS agents, okay? It's a cost, I think, when I calculated $8 billion a year they're spending on IRS agents, okay? Why couldn't they put police officers in schools? You could have put a police officer in every school, in every school in America, the elementary schools, and you train them and make sure you hold the officers accountable. They had a tragedy down in Parkland a few years ago, and it turned out the school officer had been there for 20 years, and he wasn't, after you're in a school for 20 years, you're not a cop no more, okay? He was one of them. Well, when the shooting started, you know what happened? He was hiding, okay? And you got to make sure that those people are screened out, and you have people like Nick Shelide and Amir Villa. And I'm an old man now, but back in the day myself, where we would never allow anything to happen to our children. It's a mentality, but you have to be armed. So a lot of these schools around here, they have school security officers, and they're not armed. And you know what?
So I see in the morning when I was sending my daughter at school, they show there in the parking lot, and that's it.
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
Yeah. Do you know what I call a school security officer that doesn't have a weapon? A witness or a victim. One of the two. Period. They're not going to be able to do anything. So we need an armed presence in the schools to where everybody knows that this guy doesn't play around. You look at him and he's intimidating. period.
Shelby Township is part of Utica Community Schools. Do we have police or officer involved in security in the schools?
Yeah, we have 13 schools. We have 2 high schools, 2 junior highs, and then 9 elementaries. And then we have 1 private Lutheran school. But at both high schools, we have an armed police officer in each school. They have their AR-15 weapon right in their offices that are locked. Only them can get it out. And they're trained and ready to go. We also have our road officers go by the elementary schools and the junior highs every day. They have to. That's part of their routine patrol. They have to go make contact. They have to go into the school. And so we do, to try to cover the 14 schools, we spread it out. The high school pays us for the officers in the school. They give us half of their salary and benefits to have them in there.
Oh, this is very good to know. But another thing, do you screen social media? Because in the recent school mass shooting, after the event, he said such in social media, he was mentally sick or so on. Do you screen social media?
Yes, and that's one of Amir Villa's big jobs that he does, because he's part of the Special Investigations Unit, and they handle all the social media stuff. They screen it. They're looking constantly for any type of threat. I don't think a week goes by where some dumb kid is making a threat online that Amir and his team has to investigate. So yes, 100% we do.
That's very good to know. So we heard that in Shelby there is a citizen academy. What does it do?
We basically indoctrinate them to everything that we do. Everything. Our canine program, our drone program, our special investigations, our honor guard, everything you could think of at the police department, we show them and give them a behind the scenes look. We also take them over to the college, McCall College, and they put them through a simulator of when to shoot. So they have these videos, and it's like a real life situation, and you have like a fake gun in your hand, and you watch scenarios, and they fail almost every time. They shoot everybody on there that not should be shot.
Do you know what is the percentage of the crime, domestic crime in Shelby? We talked a little bit before. What in generally, how, let's say 15%, 20%
I would say
is
of
domestic?
our arrests. Are you asking me of our arrests? I would say probably 12, 15% of all our arrests are domestic violence related.
I see the domestic crime as the source of all other crimes. Maybe I'm wrong in my judgment, but
if you can't take care of your family, those people go out and commit crime. If you're not raising your children properly and you're bringing them up in an environment where there's alcohol and drugs and nobody around or whatever, these kids are products of those homes, go out and become the criminals. So everything starts domestically. Yes, I agree.
With all these challenges, what motivates you to be a chief of the police?
Well, I don't consider myself a chief first. I consider myself a police officer, period. I'm very proud of my profession. I love what I do for a living. I was put on this earth to do this, just so you know. There's no doubt in my mind, okay? I was really good at math when I was younger. I'm good in numbers. I have a math brain. I probably could have went out and did something and made a lot more money or whatever. I don't want to be anywhere but right here. A lot of my friends, my colleagues go on to different professions and do stuff. This is right where I want to be. So having said that, this is my calling in life. And when God wants me to be done, he'll send me a message, period. And I'll know it's time for me to step down and
go in retirement.
Yeah.
But you will not retire with this passion, I see.
They're gonna have
the passion that you have to fight crime.
They're going to have to drag me out.
I understand. So, in conclusion, what is your appeal to the Albanian community that lives in Shelby Township?
Since I'm married into the Chaldean community, I see behind the curtain the mentality of the moms and dads and telling their kids not to become police officers and don't do that and stay away from that, whatever. I'm aware from my friendship with the Albanians that the Albanian community in the United States and the Chaldean community are very similar. I would bet money that the Albanian young men are hearing the same thing from their parents. Don't do this. You're not going to be a police officer. For whatever reasons they have, they're carrying around for 40 or 50 years, maybe from the old country. Okay. This is a great profession, honorable, noble. rewarding, internally rewarding. You go out and catch bad guys, make the community safer. I can't think of anything better to do with your lives than go out and keep your community safe. And not only that, we are well paid. Our police officers in Shelby Township, from my lowest police officer, my rookie, to my highest veteran, just officers only, not counting commanders, their average salary last year was $94,000. And they also just got a 10% raise. So that 94 is going to look like 103. They get health care, all different kinds of benefits. Now, we don't want just anyone. We want people to come from good families, and I know most Albanians do. So if you live in the Southeast Michigan area and you're not sure what you want to do with your life and you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, get on our website, Shelby Township Police Department. Look around, see what you see. If you're interested, my email address is right on there. Send me an email and we'll talk.
Chief Shelide, I am very pleased to have you today at the studio. We talk a lot, we talk passionate about your job, the job of defending the population, defending the city of Shelby Township from crime. And that's something that is a very honored job. And all the police force should be honored for the job they do. They risk their own lives in order all the community to be safe. And that's a gratitude on the name of the Albanian community, on the name of our audience. And I wish, and I will invite all the chiefs of police of other cities here in Michigan, like in Troy, Sterling Heights, and in the southern part of Detroit, in order we can talk about Albanians in their communities and how to prevent the crime happening, how to make our communities safe. Chief, thank you another time, and I'll close here in Albanian. Të dashur teleshikues, ishte kënaqësi që kisha sot në studio një mik tonin, shefin e policisë Shelby Township, zotin Bob Shalai, i cili na shpjegoi thellë veprimtarinë e këtij departamentit policisë, distriktit policisë në mbrojtje të komunitetit, në mbrojtje të rendit e të ligjit. Miru takofshim në emisionet të tjera. Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael.